Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach, and today I'm talking about people pleasing is unattractive and weak. So why is people pleasing unattractive and weak? Okay? And one of the main reasons why is that whenever you're trying to please someone, whenever you are people pleasing, it makes you look less than the person that you are trying to impress. Okay? And really, you should be treating other human beings as your equal, especially when it comes to relationships and dating. You shouldn't be trying to impress someone that you go out on a date with, right? You should just be authentically being yourself, not trying to put on some kind of mask, some sort of like fake persona, right? You should be just being who you are and being authentic, right? And not trying to impress them by flowery language or trying to impress them by certain things that you have, like in a materialistic sort of way. Just be yourself. And in a way, when you go out on a date, you should be trying to figure out, is this person, am I not just, it doesn't matter, it's not just am I good enough, I'm trying to make myself look good enough for them, but also, are they actually good enough for me? Right? You need to be asking yourself that. Right? It's not like you're doing this in a very narcissistic way where you sort of look at them like they're nothing and you're really critical or something like that. You're not being like snooty about it or anything like that. It just means that when you're out on a date, you're very conscious of what they're talking about and figuring out, is this the kind of person that I want to spend a lot of time with? Because a lot of the time, and I used to go through this a lot, like so much, when I would go out on a date, even if I discovered it was someone I wasn't even that attracted to when I met up with them, I would still be sitting there trying to impress them because I had such a low self-worth, right? And it just was so weak, so gross, right? When I look back on my past self, I just kind of like cringe at how even when I was on a date with someone I wasn't even that into, I would still try and people please them and try and get them to like me. And that wasn't just with, people that I would go on dates with. It was like friends that I was trying to make, even though these friends were people that I did things that I didn't really value, like they would drink a lot, or they had other aspects of their personality or their lifestyle that I didn't really like. I would still sit there and be like, oh yeah, I love the same music you do, even though if the music that I liked was the exact opposite. I would spend money on going to gigs with these people to see bands that I didn't really care about, just because I just wanted them to like me and I was just so desperate for friends, right? And it's the same with when you go out on dates, don't, be who you are. Don't try to impress them and fake who you are just to get someone to like you just because you're desperate for a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever. Okay, so you have to see others as equals always, especially when you're on a date. Now, of course, like in an office sort of dynamic, then obviously you have to have some sort of like reservation towards, let's say like your boss or something like that. There are people in authority that we kind of need to listen to sometimes, right? Like a boss or something like that. But when it comes to dating and like making friends and finding someone to be with romantically, you have to see them as an equal, right? You can't see them as more than you, right? Definitely not. It has to at least be equal, right? So one of the things that can help with this is, try and fill in your knowledge gaps when it comes to your people-pleasing behavior, if you are someone that is a people pleaser, right? So one of the best books, especially when it comes to dating, I think, on this subject is Models by Mark Manson, right? He talks about this kind of thing, being vulnerable. And when he says vulnerable, what he means is, being yourself, not being afraid of who you are, for having the opinions that you do, for living the lifestyle that you live, for liking the things that you like, be who you are, right? And you see a lot of people pleasers when it comes to this sort of thing so like a people pleaser, if they're attracted to a woman, what they'll do is, instead of, saying to that woman they're attracted to them and that they'd love to take them out on a date, what they'll do is they'll try to become friends with them first, right? Because they are trying to, get that woman to like them first, to see them as a good person first, and then ask them out. But the problem with that is first of all, it's inauthentic, right? That's the main issue there, because what's going on is that man or that woman is really attracted to that woman, right? That's their truth. That's their real intent. And if you start, sort of like pussyfooting around it, pretending to be their friend first, getting to know them first before you make a move, it makes you look weak, and also it makes you look inauthentic, because a woman usually will be able to tell if someone likes them. So they've kind of already got this instinct going on, thinking, I wonder if they like me. Do they like me? They're being friends with me. I wonder if they're actually interested in something more. Even if that woman is not fully aware of it, there'll be something underlying there that will make her feel a little bit like, this person's, I don't know what it is, but this person's being a little bit phony with me. And it's all because, this person is actually really attracted to her. So instead of being friends with her first and being inauthentic, which you'll be able to smell like a rat, you should be authentic and just speak your truth. Because if you get rejected, then at least you then know that this woman is not for you and there's some incompatibility issue there. Okay? So if you like a woman and you think she's attractive, then you should start with that. Don't start with trying to be their friend. Ask them out on a date. Say, hey, look, I think you're really cute. When are you free to hang out? Let me know. What's your availability this week to hang out? That's what you should be asking. Right? That's how you're being authentic. You're speaking your truth. If you're attracted to a woman, then that's what you need to do. Of course, sometimes you need to be a bit reserved. Let's say if it's a woman that's married or in a relationship, then in that kind of scenario, you shouldn't even be talking to that woman, right? If you're attracted to her. If she's in a relationship, there's nothing you can do about it, right? Okay? So you have to be authentic. That's what it means by being vulnerable. That's what Mark Manson means by being vulnerable. He means being authentic to who you are, not being afraid of saying to a woman that you're attracted to her if that's how you really feel, okay? So, you see this in other people pleasing in other relationship dynamics as well. And that is usually the people pleaser is the one that is the keeper of the peace, right? The one that doesn't really have a backbone, that's trying to please everybody, that is trying to fix everything, trying to put band-aids on everything. But in the process of doing that, of trying to keep the peace, they actually lose a part of themselves, right? Because deep down they know how, they really want to say, how they really want to say things, how they really want to deal with things, but internally they have this fear of people arguing, or people arguing with them, or, confrontation basically. But sometimes confrontation is absolutely necessary if it's the right thing to do, right? Instead of trying to put band-aids on everything, on trying to trying to please everybody, because usually the people pleaser is pleasing everybody but themselves, which ultimately makes them feel miserable, resentful, and it makes them look weak in the eyes of other people, because they just become a pushover, right? And they start to have no backbone, and and at some point it just blows out of proportion, and then there's usually like a big argument about something when these things should have just been tackled when it was much smaller, right? So don't be a people pleaser. You see it in the woman who clears up after her kids every single day and her husband every single day, perhaps, as well, right? And then she keeps on doing that, hoping that they're going to change, hoping that they're going to see what a martyr she is for, I think a martyr is the right sort of word to use for that, in doing absolutely everything for her, and one day they're finally going to see her worth and they're going to return the favour, right? And then slowly, as that doesn't happen, because she keeps on doing everything for everybody, and she's kind of taken on that role, then eventually, at some point, she's going to have a meltdown. She's going to have a massive argument with her husband or her kids, and it's just going to be a massive blowout because everything was like pushed under the rug. It should have been said to begin with. Clean up after yourself. Right? I'm not going to pick up everything after you, or whatever it may be. Obviously that's a very stereotypical situation, but it's one that you see a lot. And when it comes to a man, let's say a husband, he's Mr. Fix It. He's Mr. Put a band-aid on everything. He's trying to keep everybody happy, trying to keep the wife happy, trying to keep the kids happy. If there's like an argument between the wife and the kids, then he's there trying to make everything all right again, right? Instead of having a backbone and perhaps saying to either his wife or his kids, whoever's the one that's being out of line there, right? You see it in both sort of situations. You see Mr. Fix It, and you also see the woman who is like putting her needs before everybody else, and then she gets resentful, right? Or a husband, Mr. Fix It, gets resentful because he's the one that's always trying to fix things, and yet it never seems to work usually, or it just gets worse slowly, and then there's another massive argument or something like that. So that's something else to consider as well. It's not just People pleasers aren't just in the beginning of dating and in friendships and that. You do see it in long-term romantic relationships as well, with people that are married. Okay, so how do you combat this then? How do you stop being a people pleaser? And that is, you stand by your intentions. You stand by your values, your lifestyle, your needs, and never compromise these things, right? Obviously, sometimes you may have to make some sort of compromise. Let's say, for example, you want to go to Pizza Hut, but your wife or someone else wants to go to, whoever it is, wants to go to McDonald's, right? It's like sometimes you may need to make a compromise in that sort of way, but usually when it comes to who you are, you're not going to compromise, right? Is there something, let's say there's something that you love to do. Let's say you love to wake up at 5 a.m. and you love to go for like a 2 mile run in the morning. That's something that you should never have to compromise. You should always be like, I'm going to take my run because that's something that's good for me. It makes me feel good about myself. And obviously little things, it probably doesn't matter so much. Like, what are we going to listen to in the car as we drive 2 miles, you know? Sometimes you can make a compromise then. But when it comes to things that is really important to you, like that 2 mile run that you may take at 5 a.m. every morning, that's something that's for you. That's something that is about you. That's important to you. And you should never compromise those things. Okay? So that's an example of something that you should never compromise. So this is how you stop being a people pleaser, and why people pleasing just makes you look so weak, so pathetic. So please don't become a people pleaser. And again, check out that book by Mark Manson called Models, so you can get a better grasp on how you can be someone who is less of a people pleaser and is more vulnerable in that kind of sense. So thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again very soon. If you'd like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com. Goodbye.